All right. Go.
There you go, man. All right, perfect. So that's awesome. So first things first, I got to say thank you very much, Ryan, for agreeing to do this. This is amazing. And I feel very humbled to be in your presence here online because, I've watched and followed GMB, watched you guys for ages. And as you know, I am like very, very appreciative of what you do, and I really ascribe to the same philosophy that you guys do. So thank you very much for being a part of this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Not a problem. Now, the other thing is, of course, you are like halfway around the world. So it's approaching evening for us and it's morning for you. So again, that's amazing. Thank you for getting up and agreeing to be part of this first part of your day.
This is great, man. Thank you. I got my green tea ready to go.
Excellent. Okay, so listen, we're going to try and keep this to an hour. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to ask, that we're going to talk about. So without any further ado, the first question that I want to ask you about, I know that GMB is very strong proponents of training for injury prevention. So first question I want to ask you is, how do you think that injury prevention influences training?
Yeah. And so, in terms of injury and looking at training specifically, I think that kind of like the broad view of looking at things is really when you approach your training, it's why are you training and what is the real purpose of your particular training. So obviously, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
So in GMB, we are not physical therapists. Jarlo, who's my business partner, he is a physical therapist. But again, I will say that we're not trying to give out advice in terms of approaching physical therapy. When we are looking at injury and things like that, of course, you do need to make sure that you check in with your doctor, check in with your physical therapist, make sure that you have the okay to go ahead and train. The thing is, though, that we are after is, again, looking at being able to assess exactly where you're starting, what's going on with your training, and doing it in a way that's going to be very productive for you. So in terms of injury, again, first, do you have that okay? And once you have that okay, then we like to use what we call the AAA framework, which is where we assess the situation, we then address the issue, and then we apply the necessary protocol in order to help you for whatever that is that you need. Now, specifically when we are looking at particular skill work, which we're after in GMB, there's going to be particular areas in the body that are going to need more work than others. A big thing, let's say if you're working on handstands, you're going to be looking at the wrists. That is just something that we always have somebody work through. So the last thing we want is for someone to get injured. And so that's why when you are working out, when you're looking at the way that you are working out, making sure that you're following a protocol that's going to be good for you and one that's very, very safe. And so that's why we don't prescribe the same thing to every single person out there. Again, it comes down to being very aware and what's good for you within your own particular program that you're doing. And very broad way of question, but again, in terms of injury, I think to be very clear that while Jarlo is a physical therapist, we do talk about injuries and things like that. We're not trying to say that we're here to help you fix whatever it is you're after. It's always a matter of making sure that you've worked with your doctor, you've worked with your physical therapist, and then you're clear to be able to go through and work on what's good for you.
Okay.
Excuse me, my voice again today. I apologize for my voice today. So
don't worry, man. It's all good. So you've touched on this a little bit, but let's now, if you look at the overarching GMB program, okay, the overarching philosophy. So what would you say are the core tenets of the GMB program? So, somebody wants to know, hey man, like what is it the GMB stands for? What are they trying to do for me?
Absolutely, that's great. It's really pretty simple. All I want to do is help people to be able to move better and be able to do the things in their life that they want to do with more ease, and to be able to do that with more fun. And so it's not about us, to be perfectly honest, like nailing a particular skill or like looking a particular way. It all comes down to what is it in your lifestyle? What is it in your life that you want to be able to do better and have more enjoyment doing, whether that be playing with your kids, whether it be getting better at surfing, a martial art, it doesn't matter. That's what we're after, is helping you to be able to work towards getting better. So what this means is that we're looking at strength, we're looking at flexibility, and we're looking at control. So these are the three main things that we're looking at. Now, I already mentioned that we use the AAA framework where we assess where you are. You got to be real. You got to, really be aware of what's going on in your body before you start doing anything. Looking at really what you need. And then within that AAA framework, we look at addressing that particular issue or whatever the goal is. And then the application portion of that is where we actually say, okay, here's the protocol that we're going to be using in order to help you to get where you want to go. And of course, within GMB, we have our whole 5P protocol, which is basically like how we actually work out. Within there, looking at auto regulation, making sure that each and every session that you're doing is applicable to whatever goal you're doing and also matches that particular day in terms of your energy, in terms of whatever it is that's going on. But really it comes down to what I mentioned before about looking at, are you needing to focus more on strength? Are you needing to focus more on flexibility? Or are you needing to focus more on control?
Okay. Now, one of the things that you mentioned in there is talking about skills, right? And, we, coming from fitness industry, people are always talking about gains and like, man, I want to bench more. I want to do this more, do that more. But one of the things that we do, and you mentioned this as well, is talking about a skills-based approach. To talk to us a little bit about why you're using a skill-based approach as opposed to looking at some kind of metrics like, how much you bench or how much you squat or whatever.
Yeah, no, this is great. And the thing is, if we are looking at, for example, if you're looking at pure strength, and let's say that, really, it doesn't matter. If you have a sport and there's a particular goal or a specific number that you really need to hit within that particular sport, then yes, using these metrics, for example, if you're in the weight room, how much are you benching? Particular weight and relevant to whatever it is you need. I think those are very important. In terms of skill work, though, it is a little bit difficult to actually measure some of those things. And so what we're really trying to do is simply bring better awareness into your body, have a really good understanding of what's going on with your body so that then you can start looking at these metrics that really, really relate to yourself, depending on not just that skill, but again, what I mentioned earlier in terms of like auto regulation is where are you that day? So when we're looking at skill work, whether it be anything handstand, getting the splits, okay, because that's a skill work. And personally, I think everything out there is skill work, but it's mainly about practice. And so the issue comes about when we're only looking at numbers is when people start thinking about working out. And when it comes to skill work, as I mentioned, practice really where the focus should be. You just simply need to do more of that particular skill and do it the best you can. And so I like to say, make it pretty. And so rather than thinking about you've got to get 10 repetitions of something, I would rather have people think, wait, okay, you're going to do one repetition as beautifully as you can, bringing that awareness in there, making sure that your form is solid, making sure that you're doing it at a level that's good for you. You do it as beautifully as possible, then you try and do another one. And so by doing that, no matter what, you are going to be improving because you're bringing that awareness in, as I mentioned earlier. And if you simply keep doing that over time, you will naturally progress to a high level of that particular skill. And that is actually where we can, and look at, yes, you do need, when you're looking at learning anything, practicing anything, and there's so many ways to do that, but by bringing better awareness, then it's going to allow you to move a little bit away from numbers per se, and instead look at the quality of your movement and try and get in as much quality movement that you can in order to get the volume needed in order to progress to a high level of a particular skill.
For sure. And one of the things that I think is interesting, if you kind of break it down into its fundamental components, right? For you to do any skill, you have to have the flexibility to be able to do it. You need to have the strength. You need to have the mobility. And when you are able to master all of those components, then you can make it look pretty, right? So the people who make it look pretty, well, geez, those people are freaking strong, right? And they're not doing any numbers, right? But you know that they're strong because it looks beautiful, right?
And that's what we're after, and it's looking at like, okay, you bring up a really great point, and if I can just expand on that a little bit, and it doesn't necessarily need to be at a really, really high level. You can take the most basic movement, and you can watch a person do it. A person who has mastery over that movement, you know it. They own that movement, and they're strong. They have that flexibility. They have what they need for that particular movement at that particular time. And so that's what we're after. It's not about necessarily doing these super flashy, difficult skills. It's about really whatever skill you're doing at whatever level you're doing. Make it as beautiful as possible, because that, to me, is moving towards owning that movement, having mastery. And it goes way beyond simply posting a picture on Instagram. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I got a little excited. Physical therapy in relation to GMB and what else is going on out there. So yes, physical therapy, of course, played a huge part in what we're doing in GMB. Thanks to Jarlo. Thing about I want to kind of touch on this a little bit, and maybe this will help in answering the question. A lot of people might look at this and think, okay, they're coaches or fitness guys. Okay, we actually look at ourselves more as just educators, if you will. So if a person asks me like what I do, I just say I'm a teacher. And I think that the three of us, Andy, Jarlo, and I, come from that background of being teachers. And Jarlo, with his all of his clinical work throughout the years and working with so many different patients, being able to also look at it from his martial arts side of things too, and his background in teaching martial art, my background in martial art, gymnastics, and teaching for so many different years, Andy's all the years of his martial art and his teaching, have actually allowed us to take what we've learned in our experiences. And even though Jarlo might be talking from a physical therapy point of view, I'm talking from my experiences regarding gymnastics and martial art, we've been able to take it and look at it in layman terms, if you will. And so that's in terms of looking at the physical therapy part of it. Again, when we're laying things out, we do want to share that. We do want to share, the fact that, with Jarlo, with his physical therapy, there is that background. I do want to share more about my martial art. I do want to share more about my gymnastics. But if it were to only be about the physical therapy portion of that, then we would be talking to just one particular audience. And so, I don't know if we actually have had an influence with other physical therapists in terms of how we view things. We might. I do know there is quite a few actually GMB trainers now who are physical therapists, and they do use GMB with their patients, and it's very humbling, and I'm very happy to hear that. I don't think I'm being very good at answering the question, but the thing that I'm just trying to get at really is basically, we are simply just trying to share our experiences and the things that we have learned. And this is also why GMB is also evolving. This is why we're constantly making updates. You're never going to find me say, this is the way. I will never say that, because I know that even in my life, in Jarlo's life, and Andy's life, we're always learning, and we're always open to other things. The thing with GMB too is, we've always tried to get to a point where we had this method, this system, if you will, so that it's not about a particular one movement. It's not about the bear. It's not about the handstand. It's actually about the method. And using these particular concepts that we have to be able to apply those to whatever it is you are doing. And to kind of come circle here, a lot of that is, again, from Jarlo's experience in being a physical therapist. The AAA framework is a great example where you assess, you address, and you apply. We're not making things up. We're not saying that we created something from scratch. No, all of this stuff is out there. We've simply tried to put it into a way that can be digestible for people who aren't in that world, if you will, and being able to apply that immediately to whatever it is that they're doing.
Okay. You know, I told you I kind of already knew my answer to this, and we're creating our own exercise library as we kind of go along. But one of the things that we had included in our exercise library right from the start was GMB videos, because I looked at a bunch of these videos and I was like, this stuff, man, this would be perfect for my post-operative patients. Like, why aren't they doing this? And so now, it's funny, I send out a list of things, of videos to patients, and quite frequently GMB videos are on that list, because I said, oh, look, man, you need to go here. You need this for your wrist after we fixed your wrist, or you need this for whatever. So just to let you know, I'm using them all the time, and I think they're quite valuable. So here's a question, because you talked about how it sort of fits in the grand scheme of things. Here's a question about yourself, and say, so Ryan Hurst, okay? And I mentioned Ido, who's a movement guy. For people who don't know, Ido Portal, a movement guy. Kelly Starrett, who
Kelly's a buddy of mine.
And
we just talked a little while ago,
yeah. So Kelly, and then Erwin LaCour. So these are just three of the names of people who are in the fitness industry who are known as movers and that kind of stuff. So tell me, Ryan Hurst, how do you see yourself in comparison to these other guys?
Well, these guys are phenomenal. I mean, you look at them out there. Well, here's a great example. So Kelly reached out to us, a while ago, and of course we've known, Simple Leopard forever. He's been around. He's the man, And when we got on Zoom chat for the first time and talked, it was like we were starstruck. And the three of us, it was Andy, Jarlo, and I, we got on, we were like, oh my God, it's Kelly. Oh my God, holy crap. And the really, really, really weird to us was he was exactly the same with us. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to guys at GMB. And I just got to say, I don't see myself on these guys' levels, if you will, because these are guys that are out there that I admire, respect, and they've brought so much to this movement community. I always feel weird saying that, but to this, and simply to be mentioned along with these other guys, it's fabulous. It's very humbling. I just see myself as just a regular guy, and all I'm trying to do is, to be honest, just when I shoot a YouTube video or even right now, I'm just trying to be myself, and all I want is for people to just be like, well, that guy sounds kind of cool. It's the kind of guy I wouldn't mind having a drink with. That's all I'm after, and if I can help them to move better, then hey, that's great. But again, coming back, looking at, I've had conversations with their Juan. I've never spoken with Ido before, but again, these are people I really respect, and thankful for them for what they've done for bringing this whole, again, movement community to the forefront of the masses out there. So yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears here a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about gymnastic skills. So
sure.
Much of what you do is, at least in particular your own videos, have to do with gymnastic skills and sort of how you incorporate those into a fitness program. So tell me, why do these skills play such an important role for you in your fitness program and as part of the GMB training program?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. That was my forte back in the day. And really, that was what I was really comfortable with. And, I did it until I was 18 years old, where I actually had an injury and I had to stop. And there was a big gap. And I didn't get back into these skills until I was right around, I would say, 32 years old. And, a lot of people might think that I've done these just the whole time. But again, there was that big gap. During that gap was just martial art. That's really what I was doing. And, other forms of exercise, yoga and other influences. But gymnastics was always one of those things for me where it just, I felt that it would, for one, be easy, well, not easy, but be easier for me to be able to share my experiences and what I was after for other people, to be able to help them in a way that's true to myself. And so that's what I've really always tried to do. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. I'm trying to use certain movements that I feel that are accessible to really anybody out there. The other thing about it, though, a big part was that it was fun. And that played a huge role in it. And, the weights, other forms of training, while I do enjoy that, the gymnastic skills have always just, been fun for me. And I wanted to share these skills in a way, for one, that are safe, and again, that are accessible. So I'm not trying to be a gymnast. Okay. I'm not a gymnast. I was way back when, but I'm not now. And coming into these skills and looking at these skills again, at age like 32 years old was completely different, because, that gap, and Jarlo sent me a pair of gymnastic rings and I started training, and I still had in my mind, I can still do all the stuff I did when I was young.
My mind is 18, but my body is a little bit older.
Oh man. And I remember getting back up on the rings and I was like having a seizure up on the rings because I was having, so then that's really where it changed, because all right, I really loved doing that stuff when I was young. How can I now look at this in a different way and explore these movements in a way that's actually going to be good for a guy in his 30s, and that's really where it started. And so I mentioned exploration. That's really what it's about for us. We want to explore. And when we talk about play, that's what I'm talking about. It's, again, I'm not an athlete, to be perfectly honest. I don't consider myself an athlete in the sense that I don't get paid to perform on a team or anything like that. But I do get to explore and play with these particular movements. And, a lot of people that come to us, they have a real job. And, they don't have 4-6 hours a day to work out. So, but they want to do these things. And so that's really kind of how it started was, all right, how can I help you to feel better, move better, and do cool shit? That's really what it came down to. Yeah.
Okay. So to go to extend from that, so you have the gymnastics, but also martial arts. So talk to me a little bit about how you incorporate martial arts training or martial arts skills into this as well.
Yeah, so this is really where all the animal movements came from. And so came to Japan when I was really young. Well, I say young, I was 20. I came over here for university, and I was doing judo and kendo. And graduated from uni, moved to Osaka, and I was training. All I did was judo. I worked actually at a martial arts complex inside of a shrine, and I worked there for 8 years. All I did was martial art. And so originally it was just judo and kendo, but when I started working at that martial arts complex, I actually had to start attending all of the other martial art classes. So I was doing everything from Daito, Aiki, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido. I was doing Iaido. Let's see what else I was doing. Kyudo. I did a little bit of Shorinji Kempo at that time. I actually came back to Shorinji Kempo later in life. And I'm third degree black belt in Shorinji Kempo now, but whatever. But anyway, I was doing all these martial arts, but it was in judo in the warm-ups where we would do all these animal movements. And that's just how it was. And I remember doing bears, and we were doing variations of these bears and things like that. And I was just like, man, this reminds me of when I was young and doing gymnastics. And so I really just started incorporating a lot of that into what I was doing. And then when we started GMB, in the beginning, it was really the gymnastic movement. But I had a gym over here at that time when we started GMB. I had quit the martial arts complex, and I had opened up my own gym. And I was teaching kids and teaching people. And the things that I was using for the kids especially were these animal movements. And this full curriculum that I did where we would cover like things that I don't even really show in GMB. But when we started looking at a new program, I remember bringing this to Andy and Jarlo. And I was like, hey guys, I want to incorporate the bear, the monkey, and the frog, and that's it in this program. They're like, 3 movements? Are you crazy? But then what it is when we talked about it and we really hashed it out, I said, to me, when I look at something, I'm not just looking at a bear. I'm not looking at a monkey. I'm actually looking at what that represents and what it can be. And so when I look at, for example, the bear, I see, better shoulder health. I see better flexibility and mobility in the body. I see a handstand. I see a person who's better at being able to have control over their body for push-ups. And so I see a lot of different things happening in there. And so that's really where elements came about. And that's why we have these animal movements in there. It's not for the sake that, let's just throw these movements in there as a warm-up. No, I really look at it as, okay, how can I take a single movement and reframe it for different purposes? And so if you need to focus on your strength, okay, here's the cue, and here's the thing that we're going to be focusing on within this movement that's going to help you. And so that's really where that kind of just started in GMB, and then we expanded and going deeper into explaining why that is. And again, similar to what I was explaining with the gymnastic movements, is it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But it really started with the martial art, with my judo. And to be honest, we've got a lot of people. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I mean, these help you. These help you. Spatial awareness, better mobility, strength, control. I mean, it's all in there.
Yeah, it's funny. We have some MMA fighters that come to our gym. Basically, people always come to us. They start with us for physiotherapy, and then they go, "Hey, what you guys are doing is pretty cool. We want to do that." And so we have a core of these MMA fighters that come to us, and they love the animal movements, because it's like, oh my God, like you can move like that, right?
Right.
And for them, it helps them in what they do, right? It allows them to translate their skills better when they are wrestling, when they're performing jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Coming back to that spatial awareness, that's a big thing too. I mean, it's huge, right? So, yeah.
Okay, so now let's kind of go zoom out a little bit, and let's just talk. You mentioned this briefly a little bit before, but let's just talk about this in general now. So movement culture, okay, or the movement community. Let's talk about this in general and say, what are your thoughts on the movement culture today? And then I'm going to ask you to put on your crystal ball hat and to predict, or just to think about, where do you think this is moving? Give me a 5-year timeline. Where do you think it's moving in the future?
Yeah. So the whole movement culture, it's really interesting. Let's be honest. I mean, we've been moving forever. I mean, it's not that these movements are new. It's not that we haven't seen these before. It's just very interesting that there's, I would say, a core group of people that brought this to the forefront, if you will. And I am extremely thankful for it. Obviously, when we started GMB, we didn't have a business plan. It was simply, hey guys, let's
just do some stuff.
Try this. And really we just wanted to create some cool shit.
Yeah.
There was only there was actually Now there was only one online company that was also doing gymnastic style training that we were doing at that particular time. And then,
Don't say the name.
Yeah, we can't. We'll get in trouble for saying that. But but which I think is silly. That's a whole other topic. I don't see why people can't get along. That's just my thing. I'm just it's a huge ocean. Support everyone, okay?
I hear you.
Mike Fitch and I talk about this all the time. Anyway. But the movement community is very interesting. And so moving forward, I really think the interesting thing about this is that if you look at the movement community, there are different pockets, if you will. And so it can branch out anywhere from, you look at the locomotion type thing. You're looking at where it's mainly focused on that. You have the gymnastic style. You've got calisthenics, which is also extremely interesting because then you have different styles of calisthenics, right? And which I think is awesome, But back in the day, if you will, looking at 10 something years ago, you didn't quite see as many of these pockets, if you will. And so it's really spread, and I really think it's going to continue to actually get more specific, if you will. And so what I think is we see in the beginning where it was very just kind of like here, and then we start seeing that expand this way, then you start seeing the branches. And then I think what we're going to see is come full circle. And so to be perfectly honest, I look at it exactly as martial art because that's really what it is. In terms of you have this original concept, if you will. Then you've got people that have kind of branched out and started to kind of take one theme from that and move in that direction. And then that has actually come full circle where you see people actually start putting things back together to actually creating something new. That's what I'm very excited about is also, if we were to just look at gymnastics where look at the Olympic routine in gymnastics in 1950 something compared to today. It is unreal. Unreal. The stuff they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about it that way, I'm extremely excited for this movement community, if you will, because we've got these younger people coming up who are just bonkers crazy. And the information that they have, they don't have to okay, think about where we're going to go with this and how we're going to move it. It's like us when we started GMB where there weren't a whole lot of online programs. There was no playbook for GMB for us to go, here's how you do an online program and here's how you can whatever. I mean, we were blind, okay? And so I think that the fact that there are these wonderful resources out there telling people how to set things up, the interface right now that we have to be able to share knowledge is fabulous. And I'm really looking forward to seeing actually not just how the movement community expands, but what actually the specific sort of specialization, if you will, what we're going to see out of this is really exciting for me. And I got to be honest, I mean, I'm not saying I'm too old, but the thing is I want to spend more of my time helping others to be able to do that. That's really what I am with that, with that in terms of that. And GMB, we're not trying to, we're not about just helping you to get the muscle up or anything. Really what we want to do is be able to help a person simply move better so that they can start moving and branching out and doing their own thing. So again, coming back to the movement community, that really excites me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where that's going to go.
Cool. It's, when you were talking there and you talked about, gymnastics routines from the 50s and then compared to today, I just had in my mind watching breakdancing movies. I can't remember which one it was, but watching breakdancing movie like in the late 80s and watching a guy do a planche push-up, and I was like, what the hell is this sorcery? And then now you look on Instagram, guys are doing them left, right, and center. They're doing all kinds of variations, this, that, and
the other, and it's like that a planche push-up is like, what's that? You can't do that. Your grandmother could do that, right?
No, exactly.
So
right?
it's like, I am, like you said, it'll be amazing to see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where all these movement skills go to and what guys are doing, right?
I'm also, and this, it sounds maybe bad, but I'm also looking forward to seeing the injury prevention and as well as the prehab, not just injury prevention, like, oh, you got to prevent that, but actually like specific protocols and how those can be better implemented into programs moving forward. That's what I'm really anxious to look at, because let's be honest, I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. I knew the shit I knew now, back then when I was younger, sort of thing, right? And it was just like, oh man, so looking at that, and I guess that's really where, in terms of me, looking at as educator, if you will, is, okay, right now I'm trying to help people, 30s and 40s, but also hopefully I can be a role model to some of the younger folk out there who are getting started in this stuff and say, hey, listen, these are some of the things that you might want to consider, continue to expand and go where you want to go. But these are also some things to maybe consider that are going to help you to allow you to progress more efficiently, with less stress, if you will, moving towards whatever it is you want to move towards. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be an interesting time, to say the least.
Most definitely. Yeah.
So now, tell me about now, and you talked about all of the different things that you do, all the different movement modalities. So what's the average day for Ryan Hurst, and how do you fit all of this stuff into your life?
Yeah. This is really something that, especially during the whole COVID thing, has been interesting. And I really feel for everyone out there that had their whole world just turned upside down, because of the COVID thing. I'm very, very lucky, because right now I'm in my gym, which is my office, and it's a 2-minute walk from my house. And so nothing changed for me. The only thing that changed is the fact that I got to spend more time with my family, which is fabulous. Now, the thing about this is, though, it did allow me to step back and really look at some of the struggles and things that other people were having, especially our staff in GMB. Fabulous staff, almost 20 people, which is crazy. Never thought that the three of us would get to a point where we have 20 freaking people, working with us. But again, we are very lucky because we're an internet company. And so we've been able to continue to work where some other people haven't. Now, coming back to my daily life, though, really, it's pretty simple. But over the years, I've really had to focus on being particular in how I manage my time so that I can do the stuff that I want to do. And so, wake up in the morning I actually recently, especially, I shut off my phone. I turn off my phone, literally turn off my phone from 7 p.m. until 9 a.m. And a lot of people are like, what? But I had to do that. And the thing is because you find yourself, especially myself, just addicted to I'm just going to check before I go to bed.
Just check this one thing.
And, like, even within the company, like, there's certain things. And, it's my company and I want to see what's going on. But then I got to think of it this way. And maybe, hopefully this will help everybody out there. You've got to be better with yourself so that you can be better with the other people that you need to be better for. And so the only way to do that is to make sure you're focusing on first being a little selfish and taking care of yourself. And so that's what I've really been trying to do, especially recently. And that's why I turned off my phone. And so in the morning, though, like I said, I don't start anything until 9 as far as work. And up until then, though, that's my time. The past couple months, I started studying Spanish. And so in the morning, that 1 hour, I spend 1 hour where there's no internet, there's no nothing. That's my time to study and is mine. and nobody bothers me or anything. You know, if I happen to have a meeting at 8 a.m., which I sometimes do, that's fine. It's a little different, but typically it's my study time in the morning. Then after that, that's when I check in for the day. Sorry, that's when I check in for the day. I do my admin type stuff. You know, if I have a meeting or stuff like that in the morning, I'm going to do that. And then, by the way, I do a little bit of mobility in the morning. I don't really work out or do anything in the mornings anymore. Okay. But then I do my admin type stuff. And then typically I'll go for a walk before I go to lunch. And so I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat until about 12:30 or 1. I go for a walk and then I eat and I come back and I'll do a little bit of work. But typically my work is like shooting videos, moving around, doing something like that. And then what I actually do is recently my afternoons, late afternoon is when I do my workouts, if you will. And so where it used to be, I used to do a lot of stuff in the mornings, and that now really it's work, to be perfectly honest, because that's really what I need to do. And that's where I need to focus. And so I get all my work done that I need to do. And then when it's 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'm done. And that's really my time. And that's where I spend at least 2 hours doing something. I'm not saying that I work out for 2 hours per se, but typically for me, I end up doing something and want to explore it a bit more. And, you know, it turns into like 2 hours. Then I go home, and usually I have to take my daughter to swim practice. And I come back, hang out with my son. And then, like I said, my phone is off, and then I just hang out with my family. So really, that's me right now, especially right now because there's no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or martial art because of the whole COVID deal. But typically, you know, my martial art will be in the late afternoon or on the weekends right now. Yeah.
And you said, so how many different martial arts do you do?
Well, right now I only really do, I would say 2, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I might, time to time, go back and do a little bit of Shorinji Kempo. But the thing is, while I love all the martial arts, it's not me about like trying to get another belt or do anything of that. I have no desire with that anymore. I'm just simply want to step on the mat and be able to just keep moving and enjoying it for as long as I can. And so that's why I don't compete anymore at all. I don't have a desire. All I did was compete, you know, that's what I did. And I'm kind of like, I think I'm good, you know? And so again, it's just me stepping on the mat and just really trying to enjoy that process and explore. That's it. You know, that is really it for me right now. So.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're getting close to the 1 hour time limit on Instagram. So
sorry for the sound issues. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. Because what I'll do is afterwards I'll take the Instagram footage and then I'll put the sound from Zoom and then I'll repost it up. So don't worry.
Good.
My editor, my wife, my editor. So when I say I mean the royal we, right? No. My editor is going to take care of that for me. Right?
That's exactly how GMB is. I'm like, aye, but it's actually like 20 people doing it.
Exactly. Okay, so listen up. So last question before I get you to plug all your stuff now. So this is so somebody who is coming now and they're new to fitness, strength training, and conditioning, flexibility. They're just kind of new. And they want to get started. What are your, give me your top 3 recommendations for this person based on what you know in the GMB universe and in your own personal life?
Right. Well, first off, find something that interests you. So a lot of people will say, oh, you have to do this, or you should be doing this, or this, or this, or this. Okay, that's great. And there are certain things, if you need to focus on your flexibility, first, like I said before, address your issues, figure out really what you need to be working on. But again, find something that interests you that you want to be doing. So for example, I'm not even talking about exercise. I'm talking about like, what is a hobby or something, a physical thing that you can be doing that you're interested in, okay? Hiking, surfing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it doesn't matter, playing with your kids more, okay? That's your why. That's why you're going to start working out. That's why you're going to get into fitness now. I think that if you can look at it that way, rather than saying, oh, I really got to lose weight. Okay, well, why? For what reason do you need to do that? Okay, when you have that why, it's going to help you to be able to continue for whatever it is that you're doing when you have to do the work. Okay, so once again, just figure out what you want to be doing and find an activity that's going to allow you to continue doing that. Then you can look at what you need to address. Probably need to focus on your squat. Everyone in the world does. Look at your squat, improving your hip flexors, your ankle mobility, and the depth of your squat. Okay, then work on your shoulders and start off with that. I would say it doesn't matter what you're going to be doing. Take care of your shoulders, take care of the hips, okay, and your squat, and find an activity that you really want to be doing. If you can do that, I think you're going to be pretty good.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to wrap up here in a second.
Cool.
Tell
Thanks.
everybody where they can find you, and promote yourself for the next minute. Go.
All right, super simple. Go onto the Google and just type in GMB Fitness. It's all you need right there. Good to go. Literally, doesn't matter if it's Twitter, Instagram. I don't think we're using TikTok. YouTube, anything like that. Just type in GMB Fitness. We're going to pop up there. If you want, check out my private Instagram account. I try to post there quite often. I don't even know what it is, like Ryan Hurst. It's here.
It's Ryan Hurst.
It's right here. If you're watching it, you know what it is. So anyway, yeah, that's it. GMB Fitness.